Hey everyone, it's Allie and welcome to my channel, and today I am really excited to share all the Catholic books that I want to read this year. Alright, so one of my biggest spiritual goals for the year was to read more books that are directly related to Catholicism. There are so many ways to learn about the faith and grow in faith, but I'm not really like a big podcast person. I'm not a great auditory learner, so for me, reading is already one of my favorite hobbies. I literally have a whole other channel dedicated to reading if you ever want to check it out. So when I was thinking about how I could grow in faith this year, grow in relationship to Christ, I knew that one of the best ways for me to do that would be to kind of continuously have a spiritual book that I'm reading. I've been working on my morning routine. I think I'm going to do a whole other video on that because for me, I really am such a morning person. So first thing in the morning really is the best time of day for me to spend in quiet time, reading, learning, and praying. So with that being said, I'm trying to read at least 10 pages of a spiritual book every morning as part of my morning routine. So in this video, I will kind of go over basically my TBR for the year. And if I actually divided all these pages out, 10 pages per day for the rest of the year, I would not get through all of these books, but I do anticipate reading some of them a little bit faster, reading a little bit more of some of them every day. And you know what? If I don't get to all of them, that's okay. I am going to do a 6-month check-in. So I guess in July, I'll do a review of the books I've read so far. The first book that I've already finished this year has gone MIA. I'm not quite sure where it is in my house right now, but the book is called Bakita From Slave to Saint by Roberto Italo Zanini. My mom actually gave me this book probably a couple years ago and I just never got around to reading it, but it actually does read pretty quickly. And I do think it's a good one to read in chunks every day because there's a lot of little sections within each chapter. The book is about Saint Josephine Bakita, who I really didn't know too much about. And I wouldn't say it was like the best book I ever read by any means, but it was very informative and I definitely learned a lot about Saint Josephine and how she grew up. Very, very inspiring story, and she's for sure someone that I do want to continue learning more about. The book that I'm in the middle of right now is also about a saint. It is the Song of Bernadette, which I'm enjoying much more than I actually thought I would, because I just thought it would be, another nonfiction, maybe a little bit dense at times to get through, but it's written like a novel and it's really, really good. And I know this was made into a movie as well, I believe in the 40s. So I'm really looking forward to finishing this and then watching the movie. And this is one that I think if you have someone in your life who's not Catholic, or if you're not Catholic and you want to learn more about Saint Bernadette and the miracle at Lourdes, this is very, very readable, extremely well written by Franz Werfel, if I'm saying that correctly. It's a pretty thick book, so this likely will actually take me through the end of March. Okay, so I probably won't get through all of these this year, but I just pulled out my whole collection of C.S. Lewis books. So we've got The Four Loves, The Abolition of Man, The Problem of Pain, The Great Divorce, Miracles, Mere Christianity, and A Grief Observed. And then also in this collection was the Screwtape Letters, which I read a couple years ago, which I absolutely think I could reread, but probably won't do that this year. A lot of these are quite short though, so I'm thinking if I have like a slow Sunday or something, I might just crank one of these out in one sitting. Like A Grief Observed, I did start a while ago. I got to page 25, but I am going to start it over again. But it's literally only 75 pages and it's not too dense or anything. So that's one I'll absolutely read in one day. And yeah, a lot of other ones I think I could read in 1 or 2 days. So let me know if you've read any of C.S. Lewis's nonfiction books. I'm kind of embarrassed I haven't read all of these yet since I am such a reader, but I am mostly a reader of fiction. So in the past, I have been really bad about just not picking up nonfiction. But like I said, it is for me one of the best ways to learn. And I feel like I do learn so much when I read a lot of books about Christianity and Catholicism. So I know forcing myself to do it every day is going to be good for me. I feel like I've heard the most people talk about, other than the Screwtape Letters, Mere Christianity, and I think my sister really loves The Great Divorce. I'll have to have her on here one day and she can do a whole review of her favorite books because she's really, really good about reading a lot of maybe more intimidating books by Christian authors. Speaking of slightly intimidating, I do have the Diary of Saint Faustina, which I flipped through in the past. It is pretty thick. There's a lot of stuff going on in here. Yeah, it's almost 700 pages. And I think in the past I probably got to like page 200 or so. But this absolutely is a good one to work steadily really through because it's broken apart in like paragraph form. So if you're not familiar with Saint Faustina, just before World War II, Jesus asked her to record his message of mercy in a diary. "You are the secretary of my mercy. I have chosen you for that office in this and the next life." It says these words of Jesus are found in this diary, which chronicles Sister Faustina's great experience of divine mercy in her soul and her mission to share that mercy with the world. Though she died in obscurity in 1938, Sister Faustina is now hailed by Pope John Paul II as the great apostle of divine mercy in our time. She was canonized on April 30th, 2000 as a saint, and at the time of this printing, which was a bit ago, more than 800,000 copies of the diary had been sold worldwide. And she was known for her childlike trust, simplicity, and intimacy with Jesus. I feel like she reminds me in a lot of ways of Saint Therese, who is one of my personal favorites. So I've been meaning for quite a few years now to get through this whole book, and I do think reading a little bit every day is going to be the best way for me to tackle it. I also am subscribed to like the Divine Mercy email, and every day they do send you parts of the book. So that is another way to read the book essentially. I'll have that email linked down below if you want to check it out. I just have found that I'm not super consistent with reading that, and I would personally just rather read it through a book than through my email. Oh, a book that I do want to read quite soon is Saint Gerard Majella, the wonder worker and patron of expectant mothers. So I'm currently 29 weeks pregnant with my first baby, and I'm getting to the point where feeling pretty anxious about everything. And I'm actually wearing a medal of Saint Gerard. My sister-in-law gave it to me, and my gram, who has now passed away, had given it to her. So he's been with me for quite a few months now, but I still sadly don't know too much about him. So I ordered this book from Amazon, and it's not too long. So I do think as soon as I finish the book about Saint Bernadette, I will just go ahead and dive into this one. Next up, I have a book that I would really love to reread this year. It is My Heart Will Triumph by Mariana Soldo, if that's how you say her name. But this is written by a woman who is one of the 5 other children who saw Mary in Medjugorje. And I read this probably 3 years ago now, and I ate it up. It's written really, really well, super interesting, and absolutely amazing, I think, to read a book written by a woman who's still alive, who has been blessed by seeing Mary. So this is another one like the Song of Bernadette that I do think people really of any religion, of any faith background would be interested in reading. So cool, and I for sure want to go to Medjugorje one day, hopefully within the next couple of years. And then I do have 2 other quick little books that I probably will just go ahead and read like over a weekend. I think I got both of these for free from a church. So the first one I think I started and never finished like many years ago, and that is Resisting Happiness by Matthew Kelly. I know he's written a ton of books, people really like him, so I for sure have a lot more to read once I get through this one. This one I think will be good because it is a little bit of a self-help book as well, and I can be a little bit of a procrastinator myself, and I believe that's kind of the main topic that is talked about, like self-sabotage in this book. I did read The Mountain Is You a few years ago, which at least looking at the back of this, I think it is kind of quite similar, except The Mountain Is You doesn't have any religious background, and this one of course does. So I'm really looking forward to just getting through this one because I am kind of bad about reading self-help books, and I can definitely use them. And then this other one is The Way of Serenity by Father Jonathan Morris. It says, finding peace and happiness in the Serenity Prayer. The Serenity Prayer is one of my personal favorites. It's one I should say every day. I don't, but hopefully by reading this book, I can get into the habit of doing it very often. This also does look like another one that will be good to read just a little bit of every day. Chapters aren't too long, don't look too overwhelming. And then as a bit of a bonus, I do have 2 fiction collections picked out to read. So the first is The Complete Stories of Flannery O'Connor. I've really wanted to read some Flannery O'Connor books for a long time, and I found this collection, and one, I just love the cover of it, but I do really love reading short stories. Again, a great way to read a little bit every day. And these are fictional, but Flannery O'Connor was a devout Catholic, and so I know she does have a lot of Catholic themes throughout her stories. And I believe she's pretty sassy, and I do like that. Once again, I think my sister is a big fan of her. My sister's a lot better than me about like really diving into classic literature. This is a little more my speed. Just kidding, but this is good for people of all ages. So I have a collection of The Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. So if I read all these C.S. Lewis books, I'll have read a lot of him this year. But I did read all of these as a kid, and I reread the first 3 last year, and I would like to read books 4 through 7 by the end of this year. They are fiction, but they do have some great Christian themes, and I think they are great great books to read with your kids, but rereading the first three last year at the age of 32, 33, they really do hold up. I still enjoyed reading them a lot. So those were all of the books that I hope to read this year to help me grow in my relationship with Christ. Let me know if you've read any of these, if you have any recommendations for me. Not gonna put a lot of pressure on myself, but I think if I do read a little bit every day, I will get through a lot of these books by the end of the year, because I'm really tired of them just collecting dust on my bookshelf. But if you like this video, please make sure to give me a big thumbs up and subscribe. I'm planning on making a lot more lifestyle, Christian, Catholic content on this channel, so if that sounds good to you, stick around and I will see you next week. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!